What's up, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today's guest kicked off UFC 258 in a big way, picking up the first win of the night and the first win of his UFC career. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking to Gifted Gabe Green. Gabe, thank you so much for joining us here, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak with us. Congratulations on the win. Just how you doing, my man? How are you doing, and how are things out there in sunny California?
Man, I'm doing great. Feels good to get a win under my belt in the UFC. I'm gonna keep those coming.
So, yeah, we'll start right there with being your first career victory. Congratulations again. Just tell everybody what that experience just has to be like and how you're feeling, because picking up your first win inside of the octagon is such a memorable moment for any fighter in their career.
Yeah, no, it was amazing, especially because I had the D-Rod fight before, which I lost and sucks. It's always nice to get that taste out of your mouth and get a win, but my only win before that, my fight before that was in 2018. So I haven't won a fight in forever. So I was just like, it just felt so good, and especially to have it be in the UFC, I was just like, it's the greatest feeling ever.
So now I want to go back a second, though, to your first fight. Obviously, you got a loss in that one, but it wasn't the most ideal situation. You accepted that fight on just 4 days' notice, no training camp for that one. But I have to ask, even though things didn't go your way, it was a rushed experience. Was there anything that you learned from that first walk to the octagon that kind of helped you in this fight?
No, yeah. Going into this fight, I took the other one 4 days notice against D-Rod, and D-Rod was knocking people out. And 4 days off the couch, I rolled up into the cage and went the distance with the guy who's a super tough guy and a finisher. So that right there just gave myself confidence and let me know if that I belong in the UFC. If I can go toe to toe and not get finished with this guy who's finishing other guys with full camps. Whoever they put in front of me, I'd be ready for.
And yeah, as you were just saying there, you missed a lot of time not fighting really since 2018 until later 2020, now here 2021, because you had a number of injuries. But this training camp obviously wasn't the most ideal situation for you either, because you were dealing with injuries, you got COVID, but still ultimately you made your way through the camp and you ended up taking the fight, getting the win. But just tell everybody a little bit about what training camp was like and why you made the decision to go forward and fight, because with all the injuries and with COVID, if you wanted to pull out from the fight, nobody would have faulted you. So just tell everybody a little bit about your decisions during this camp.
Yeah. So after D-Rod, I jumped back into the gym. I was like, you know what, losing sucks. I'm gonna be ready for whatever they give me next. And I was getting dialed in, and then boom, I end up tearing my MCL at practice and just couldn't even walk, and it was terrible. So I had to take a couple months off for that, let that heal up, and then go back to practice. Finally, get released. Start off taking it easy, and I'm like, all right, it's gonna be my first day where I'm grappling, and then because I didn't want to put a whole bunch of weight on my knee, and then sure enough, end up popping my rib instead. And boom, just another couple months right there. And then those rib ones, they suck. They linger, just extra little pressure on it. Just don't feel good. And then I was like, well, they actually had sent the contract while my rib was injured, but they sent it out a while before my fight, and I was just doing the math in my head. I was like, well, like pretty sure I can start, getting back into training around, like Christmas or January. That still gives me, like 6 to 8 weeks. I was like, I'm gonna be fine. My coach thought, like all you need is 6 to 8 weeks, and we'll be ready for Philip Rowe. So, we decided like, all right, like that's it. Like, well, let's stay with it. And then sure enough, my coach got COVID. I got COVID. People at the gym got COVID, and just like that, out for another couple weeks right there. And then it was really like, man, I'm not gonna lie, the thought did come into my head where I was like, man, maybe I'm not supposed to fight this guy. Like everything is hitting me right now. But then in my head, I was also just like, you know what, this makes it an even better story. So I'm just gonna stick with it as long as, coming out of COVID, my lungs still worked and I was ready to rock and roll. Then I'm gonna go with it. And that was the first thing I noticed though coming out of it. It had a kind of an effect on my lungs. I usually have really, really, really good cardio, like super good cardio, and I was getting tired. I was just like, man, what the heck? Like breathing hard, taking super, super deep breaths. And even I was doing sprints, and it just like it burned, like my chest burned. And I was spitting up nasty mucus for, a couple of weeks. But finally, everything started, like I mentioned in my post-fight interview over there at the Apex. Like 2 weeks before my fight, I really started like settling back in and getting dialed in. So I was really confident in being able to go out there and perform still. And, I did perform. I still got the W. I think I could perform it a little bit better, but it all worked out.
And now, one last thing before we get into your fight itself here. In your post fight interview, you had mentioned how you got to take your health as the number one priority right now, that you need to not get injured so you could have these good training camps and fight more and more because you want to be active. Just what exactly is your game plan as far as putting your health as your top priority? Like, are you going to maybe visit the UFC PI because they're very good with the athletes and helping with injuries, or do you kind of have something else going on out there in California?
I know I have some guys out here that can help me out. I go to the refinery over here in Garden Grove, and people take care of me there. So definitely getting worked on by them. And then I have a cryo sponsor too, Cryo Spot in the OC, so they take care of me. I've already went today and got worked on a little bit. Gonna get worked on a little bit more tomorrow, just even to help me out with all the injury, like the little bumps and bruises from the fight that I just was in. But yeah, and then just besides that, I usually hit things so hard going into, like, I don't even do camps. I just kind of like, all right, let's go. Let's get better every single day. I have that mentality where if I'm not better than what I was yesterday, then, like today doesn't even count. So I'm always hitting things real hard. And it's almost to the point sometimes where my coach is like, Gabe, like slow down, like your body needs to heal. It needs to recover. You're doing too much. So just, all around being a smarter fighter, and realizing that recovery is just as important as the actual work.
All right, now that all the injury things are aside here, why don't we start breaking this fight down? And I guess we'll go round by round. So we'll start with the opening round. Phil's a very long guy, and in the early going, he was really able to use that length and kind of keep you at bay there. But then you were obviously able to cut the distance, get in close, and make it really a dogfight. In that opening round is a pretty good scrap there. Kind of just tell everybody a little bit about how he came out with that length and how you were able then to close that distance and make it the good competitive fight that it was.
Yeah, I mean, I walked out there and I knew, 80, 81 inches, that's freaking so long. And I was like, all right, I got to get in there. I was a little hesitant at first because he is so long. I didn't want to go out there and throw something and then him take a step back and all of a sudden he's out of reach again, would be able to catch me a couple of times. So I was making sure I kept my hands up real high. And then when he was letting him go, they said, he was hitting me, but I was more so rolling everything. Nothing really connected in the very beginning. But I wasn't countering back. So I started doing that a little bit later, and I was like, all right, and then once I finally was able to touch him, I was like, okay, he's right there. I can reach him. And once I felt him, I was like, all right, I'm going to stay about this distance and just make it dirty.
And now for the second round, which is probably your best round of the whole fight. Everything went probably according to plan in that round, except for not one, but two low blows. And obviously, they were both accidental. But when that second one landed, were you worried, like, oh no, the ref's going to take a point off me of having this great round? All of a sudden, it's going to go from me winning to round to we're going to end up being tied. Did that thought ever cross your mind when that second one landed?
Yeah, no, I was super worried about it. Because it just sucks. I really didn't mean to do it. I felt so bad when it happened. Getting hit in the balls sucks. And the first one, I was like throwing the kick to the inside, low kick, and then he hit me with a jab, so kind of threw the trajectory off. So just kind of something that happened, and I like saw the foot going that way, so I like pulled my kick back because I didn't want to. When I saw it going, right towards his balls, I was like, oh no, and I tried to pull it as much as I can. Still flicked it, and we've all been flicked there. It still hurts a lot, so I was just like, oh man. And then so he took his time off, and I was like, all right, let me get after it again. He was ready to go again. I said I was sorry when we did the hand touch. I was like, man, sorry again, dude. And he was like, oh yeah, no worries. We had like a little banter going back and forth, and it was cool. And then immediately I was like, all right, let me go give it to him again, because I was doing good prior to that. And then again, that shot. But the second one was more belt line so than actual, cut. But even that, it wasn't on purpose. I went to roll something and he clicked the top of my head as I was rolling under his punch, and it kind of just changed the trajectory of my hand again. Again, totally accidental, but felt so bad again. I was like, oh man. And that's all I was thinking going back to the when he was like, just go to the corner right there. I was just like, man, that's 2 back to back. I was like, shit, he might take that point away from me. Now I wasn't sure the first round. Like the first round I did good. I was landing some shots, and then I almost finished. I was pretty close with that the head and arm where I took him to the floor, but I still didn't know if that was enough to win the first round. So I was like, dang, now this second, even if I'm giving it to him, if they do take a point away, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be bad. Yeah, that definitely worried me.
And now to the third round, you landed a calf kick or two that actually dropped Phil to the canvas. Throughout the fight, you were landing that calf kick. So was that part of your game plan to land those calf kicks like that? Because it had a big effect on Phil.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I'm gonna go in there and just chop his legs down. I was pretty confident in my ability to be in and out with just my striking, that I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to destroy his legs. But, I was going to throw some. But once I saw that they were working so good, I was like, oh, you know what? Look, let me throw a couple more. I really regret, not sticking with that. I really thought, especially, in the second, I knocked him down. I think I knocked him twice in the second where he just fell. I thought the refs were just going to stop it because, like he really wasn't able to walk anymore. I was just like, and then they didn't. I should have just stuck on it. That was really my bad for not just taking a step back and letting him stand up and just chopping it again.
And yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about that because the broadcast team was being a little critical there in that situation. Joe Rogan even asked you about it in your post-fight interview there. When you had him hurt, when you dropped him with one of those calf kicks, you went right down to the canvas and you tried going in for a choke and then ended up turning into a big sprawl there. Ultimately, if you would have probably just had him stand up and kick him again in the leg, the ref may have been looking at stopping it. Now, obviously, it's easy to sit here right now and play Monday morning quarterback, but do you have any regrets from that moment, or was there something that you ultimately saw that you thought you made the right decision by going down there and looking for a choke in that situation?
No, yeah, I mean, I really should have. That would have been the easiest way to win. I should have just took that step back, been like, you know what, ref, stand him up, because he has to stand up, and then just chopped it again. But no, yeah, I mean, I thought, I was like, all right, he's already on the floor. I was just thinking like, oh, it's over. Just let me get this real quick. I felt like I got like a Darce or whatever and just, finished it right there. But, and then I didn't. And then I put myself in a bad situation where, he was able to get on top of me and just kind of lay on top of me. And I was throwing some shots. But even then, I should have just stood up and, got him off of me and just knocked him down again. But yeah, a lot of hindsight 2020 going on right now. I mean, fighting's a learning experience. Make sure I don't mess up twice.
And now, finally, one last thing from this fight. The first round was very close. The second round, you definitely won. The third round, because of that sprawl there after you went in for the choke, it kind of was a bit of a competitive, close round. So we know how the scorecards could be sometimes. Were you worried when Bruce Buffer was announcing the decision that, may have gotten away from you? Or were you absolutely confident as he's reading those off that you had the fight won no matter what?
Anytime the judges go to a decision, I'm gonna be nervous. You never know. It's 3 people deciding, your life basically. So I was a nervous wreck. I was like, man, especially knowing that if I would have hit his leg one more time, that it would have been a wrap. I was just like, man, and that's what I put myself in the situation. I was like, I really could have ended this, and now I don't know if I won, because who knows what they're seeing. I was pretty confident that I won the rounds, considering that when he was on top of me, he wasn't really doing any damage, even if he was controlling me. I was still landing more shots, because he wasn't throwing anything. I think he landed 3 elbows on top of me, at all time every time he was on top of me, with the control. And I was hitting him way more from the bottom. But even with that, I was like, what are they judging? And it made me a nervous wreck. I was, like I said, especially knowing that I could have finished him. I was like, man, dang, I made the wrong decision inside of there. And I was like, I should have just tore up his leg and just that would have been it, you know. And so yeah, I was just that's why if you look at the video, like my head's down, I'm like, man, did I do enough? Did I really do enough? And luckily, the ref saw my way, and I was able to get the W.
Well, hey, big sigh of relief because you did get the win, your first one of your career. So now that number one's out of the way, I have to ask you, what's next for you as you continue on with your UFC career here?
Um, Whoever wants to fight me next. I know I want to get my eyes are pretty bad, so I was planning on getting LASIK or PRK after this fight. I got a couple of dollars to pay for it because like being blind sucks. It's definitely gonna look into that, and I think that's only like a 30-day layoff after having the surgery and your eyes are fixed. So right after that, get back in, have that as soon as possible. After that, get back into camp, and then ready for whatever. I definitely want to fight a lot this year. I used to fight like 5 to 6 times a year before I was in the UFC, and I like being that active. So if I'm able to fight that many times in the UFC, I definitely will.
And if it's okay, I just want to ask you one little thing with the eyes there. I mean, what's that got to be like going through training camp and then getting inside of a cage with somebody as they're trying to punch and kick you and you're having a hard time seeing?
No, it's my coach tells me all the time. He's just like, how do you even? I'm like, I don't know how I fight. I kind of just react to stuff when it's coming at me. I can't really tell how far things are from me sometimes, but I make it work. It might just be why I brawl so much, because I know if I can touch him, I can hit him. So I try to stand right there in the pocket where I can kind of see stuff. But I mean, shoot, man, I might get these new eyes and I might be an extreme, way even better fighter. We'll see how life is when I have clarity.
All right, Gabe, this has been a lot of fun. One last thing before we roll out: your social media, management, sponsors, anything like that you want to plug, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gifted Gabe Green just across the board on everything: Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Just made it easy for you guys. But yeah, shout out to my team at Subfighter. Shout out to my team at the Body Shop, and my management team, Tim Iridium. Jason House is amazing. And then yeah, that's just pretty much it. Thank you to everybody. Thanks for watching me. If you guys are a fan, if you're not a fan, jump on board, because I'm gonna come to the top, and you guys, I'm winning you guys over eventually.
And there you have it, folks. That was Gifted Gabe Green. Gabe, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And again, congratulations on that first career UFC win. And to everybody that's out there watching, if you haven't done so yet, just want to remind you, subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can see more great interviews just like this one that you just watched. And also, too, as a reminder, keep going to MyMMANews. We have great content that's coming out there every single day of the week. And make sure you go to our social media accounts, give those a like and a follow as well. We'll see you later, everybody.